And if you don't recognize that, that's a Smoky Mountain theme song, which they're playing on for my benefit. This is my sidekick, Brian Asbury from Developmentally Speaking. And I happen to be Les Thatcher, at least that's what my driver's license says. I'm not sure, but I checked just a few minutes ago. Thank you. Thank you guys all for coming out. I told Brian, I said, we're going to be first up. Either going to be nobody there or we're going to have a lot of people. Let me start with this. How many people here actually know my background or why I'm sitting up here? Anybody? Okay, a couple. Well, I'll give you a brief thumbnail sketch. Actually, as of July 4th this year will be my 67th anniversary in this business. So I'm not going to sit here and try to give you a 67-year rundown of what I've done. I turned pro at age 19 in 1960. In 1970, I started doing play-by-play broadcasting as well as wrestling. And over the years, got involved in magazine production. And then in the early 90s, started doing training and have been involved in that ever since. And I kind of think I was pretty good at it. I'm not real sure. But anyway, so here I am. Like you say, 67 years in this industry, and it's been my life. I have a passion and a love and a focus for it that comes from, I hate saying it, old school, right? Where I learned it, I was 19 when I had my first match, and I realized real quick that I couldn't be a teenager, but that's my cell phone, which I don't know who's trying to call me, but I'm not going to answer. Thank God for electronics, right? Anyway, so I've done a lot of everything in this industry at one time or another. In broadcasting, I've worked with Gordon Soley, Jim Ross, Lance Russell, Bob Cottle. To me, those are my Mount Rushmore of broadcasting. And as a trainer, I've trained with Rick Steamboat, Harley Race, Lance Storm, Rip Rogers, and Lord, every other great trainer. Tom Pritchard. Actually, Tommy Pritchard and I are close friends. We both live in Knoxville, Tennessee, so we pick the business apart at least once a day when we're having lunch or something. But anyway, thank you folks for coming. My friend Ed that runs these, this is my first time here, is a Cincinnati boy that used to come to HWA. And so I'm really happy to be. It's a great deal out here, man. I don't know if any of you have been to the Charlotte Fan Fest from a few years ago, but this rivals it. It really does. And I'm just real tickled to death to be here. To say I love this business would actually be an understatement. It has been my life. It's who I am. It's what I do. And to pursue this at a high level, you need to have the focus and the dedication, because as much as everybody thinks they know more about professional wrestling than the wrestlers, they don't. It is a difficult, extremely difficult business to break into. And it gets more so, I think, as the years go on and the business changes. Now, is anybody here an independent wrestler? Wow. Thank God there's one. And I'm going to, listen, one of the things, I'm 85 years old. I'll be 86 in October. One of the things I think I've earned in 67 years is this guy laughing at me because I'm an old man over here. I'm teasing. But, you know, this business is hard. It's up, it's down. There's days I hate it, there's days I love it, but it's part of my life. But here's the thing. In developmental, right, part of developmental is developing. Now, how many independent wrestlers do you think will be through this event over the next 24 hours? 200? 300? Okay? Why aren't they here? I mentioned I've been doing this, it'll be 67 years in July. You know what? I have learned something every year of those 67 in this business, because it's ever changing, ever evolving, and people change. The style of wrestling that I learned 67 years ago is nothing at all like what I see today. So I've got to change my training style. But the point is, if you really want to do this at a high level with WWE, let's say, which obviously are the guys that developmental, first thing you need to learn is that you must show them that your heart and soul is in it. So to me, if everyone here held up their hands and said, I'm an independent wrestler, I think, wow, we're doing a good job here tonight. The fact that there are none here, I would like all of you to do me a favor. Tomorrow, if you know an independent wrestler and they say, hey, I heard that Les Thatcher did a thing last night. Did you go? Yeah. What'd he say? He said not to tell you. You should have been there. That would be my answer. Because the first thing you learn is you need to learn more, and it's things like this is where you learn those things. You want to know about the PC, Performance Center, you want to know about development, then you should talk to somebody that actually is involved. Wow, that's a clever idea. You don't have to be a college graduate to come up with that answer. And yes, I am a sarcastic old son of a gun, so humor is part of my life. But anyway, that is the job that I've had. I've been a guest coach at the PC, but our Heartland Wrestling Association started out as a developmental system for WCW until Vince swallowed the company. Or actually, they started backing off and dropped us, as their business started to fall off. And then I got a call from JR saying, don't go away, because we're about to pull out of Memphis, and you're on the roll call. Anyway, here's the thing. Independent wrestling is, I don't even know what to call it. I got in being a trainer quite by accident. A guy by the name of...
One of the greatest of all times, trainers right here.
Jesus. Uh-oh.
Hi, Les.
Hi, guys. Do you guys know who these...
Echo.
Mecca?
Echo.
No, I said there's an echo.
Oh, there is an echo.
There's an echo.
These two guys, we played the Smoky Mountain music earlier. That's where I first met these guys, in Smoky Mountain. They had basically, Smoky was like a developmental before developmental. Would I be right?
Yeah,
100%.
Okay.
Smoky Mountain was the birth of the Headbangers.
The birth.
The birth.
And
You got to experience that.
and you have survived Jimmy yelling at you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they have
couple
no
times.
bruises. Yes.
Listen, Jimmy is the greatest of all time, if you ask me.
Right.
Anyway, here's the thing I want to let you guys talk too. If you have questions about developmental, please feel free to raise your hand and yell at me, because I am an old man. Or maybe we can get Brian to come down with a microphone so I can hear you that way. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask, because that's why we're here. We want people to know about developmental, okay?
We want this to be interactive, is what he's saying. So interactive.
I'll come down with the microphone.
You're welcome.
How about that? That's even better.
That's even better, yes.
But he doesn't need a microphone because he's really loud.
God, that was really
Ladies,
high.
don't be afraid of him. He wears a skirt, but he's not
Okay.
going to try to steal
Do
your
you have a
boyfriend,
question,
okay?
sir?
Not yet.
Shut up. You got a question. Stand up. State your name and your social security number.
I only remember one of those things. My name's Travis, and I want to know, what do you remember about Shimmer's Ballroom?
Shimmer's Ballroom.
Where you used to have the HWA in Northern Kentucky.
Oh, you know what? I don't remember much, because that was on Wednesday nights, right?
I think it was Saturdays.
No, I think it was Wednesday. Well, with us, we ran a bar on Wednesday nights when I had my radio show, so I never got to go to any of the shows, right?
He was too busy at the bar.
Yeah, yeah,
This
right.
was the place
right.
where the men couldn't show their nipples either.
I don't remember that venue, and I'm really
And
sorry.
my question is, why do you know that? That's my question.
Hold on.
you
Follow-up
guys-
question. Follow-up question. What's your obsession with the nipples on a man?
I remember you
I'm
guys
sorry.
putting Band-Aids over the referee's nipples one night, because the mayor came and said, men have to cover up.
We
their-
did that?
Wait, hold on. He said the referees wear shirts. So
Yeah,
what
you-
referees not wearing shirts? They had to cover his nipples. What is wrong with
1997.
you?
It's-
That is so something we would do.
mean, he was wearing the shirt. You just put it on the shirt.
You put it on. We did, or he
Yeah.
did?
No, you guys did.
We did.
Yeah.
You know what?
remember
I didn't expect Laurel and Hardy to join me tonight, but hey. any point?
Hey, baby.
Do what?
How you doing? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I got distracted by the hot lady here. You got a question? Okay. Sorry.
Hey,
All right.
Heel.
Sorry. Les is yelling at me.
sit.
Sit, Lou, sit. Good
Sit. Yes.
I don't want to get Les mad.
Good dog. Well, you know what? These two guys, at least will tell you a funny story, okay? These two guys are having their first night in Smoky Mountain, okay? But the first I got to tell you about my friend Mark Curtis, the referee. He named a cat after me, right? And I found this out by calling Mark's house, and he said, well, Mark and Renfield, which is a cat that I knew he had, and Thatcher aren't here. And I said, wait a minute, what did he just say? So I called again to be sure I heard it the right way. So when I finally talked to him, I said, why the hell did you name the cat Thatcher? He said, because he's never got a hair out of place. So this started the whole, and at that time I had a lot more hair than I've got now. And it started the whole thing about Les never has a hair out of place, right?
It was beautiful.
So on these guys' first interview, the first time they'd ever had their skirts on.
No, we didn't even have skirts on. We wore shorts.
Oh,
then.
that's right, you
We
did.
didn't even
Yeah.
have the skirts.
Okay, so they're sent out to interview me, right? Or for me to interview them. So we do the interview, and which one of you guys did
That was me.
on his way up?
It's only because I knew who Les was, and I was not touching him.
He does. I'm thinking somebody in the back. It's a rib, right? It's a joke on, and they told him to do it. So they go to the back, but they didn't know.
But not only did I mess with his hair, I took his glasses off. I put his glasses on, and I was like, these things are like Coke bottles. I'm poking them in the ear with them. Totally just messing with them because, again, the very first TV we did at Smoky Mountain, we didn't even know our names. Literally, Cornette was like, you're going to be Mosh and Thrasher or something like that. Just go do it. And when you're done your match, go over and you talk to the interview guy. No idea.
The interview guy. See, they didn't know my name. But the crazy thing is, I thought one of the guys in the back, because of the rib with the cat, right, had put them up to messing my hair up. So I'm not going to. I'm not selling this,
No,
right?
it's not selling it.
So I just
Damn
played
thing.
it straight. So they get to the back, and somebody said, Les is going to be pissed.
It was Tracy. Smothers.
Tra-
Brothers. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they said, Les who? And they said, that's Les Thatcher.
He's a
hell,
shooter.
we are in trouble.
He's a
They're
shooter.
like, you're in trouble. And then Les came into the back, and I was like, I ran right up to him immediately. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't realize. He's like, what are you sorry for? I'm like, I was messing with your hair. I was messing with your glasses. I'm so
He gave him
sorry.
a wet willy, and
He goes,
it was just.
Les looks at me. He goes, that was the greatest. He goes, I don't know what you're mad. He goes, I'm not mad. He goes, this was awesome. He goes,
See, I wouldn't put him over, right?
He didn't?
That was,
and we literally found all this out, what, a half hour ago? But it's
Yeah.
all written in my book beneath the skirt. It's all
right.
story.
And be sure to buy the book, right? We're here to sell books.
Come see me at the table. I have him at the table.
And I was going to tell him another story. I don't know if you've ever heard the name Nelson Royal or not. He was an NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He was also my tag team partner at one point. And so he's watching Smoke. He's retired. I mean, much older than myself. And he's retired at the time. Of course, I am too, just doing the TV. He calls me one day and he said, we got to get geared up and get on the road. I said, what are you talking about? He said, they got guys on Smoky Mountain that wear skirts. I said, Nelly, it's part of the gimmick. They actually have an amateur wrestling background, and this is so that you don't realize that until you see them. And he was adamant, right? Now, I said, relax. Don't have a heart attack over this. We got to get back on the road. I said, I don't know who we are, but I'm not lacing the boots back up again.
Thank God.
For the guys in the skirts or anybody else at this point in time. But, you know, there's a lot of fun in development. There can be a lot of fun. But it's a learning process. I think the young athletes, well, when I broke in the business at age 19, one of the first things that I realized is, son, you better not be a teenager anymore. Your childhood days are over. These guys are serious, and you better be serious, or you'll end up being a lot taller than you are now.
That's
and
right.
it won't be by accident, right? So, but that's the thing. I fell in love with this business. I first saw it on a black and white 10-inch screen when I was 9 years old. Had my first match at 19. So my whole life has been consumed by this industry. But I paid a price for that, of dedication, of missing family birthday parties and funerals. And it's a whole different business now, but still, it is so consuming that, you know, when I had people come to HWA, to our developmental gym, if they brought a girlfriend or wife, I'd tell the lady, please understand that if this guy comes in here and gets involved the way he should to become good at this, you're going to have someone to fight. It's a mistress called professional wrestling. You can't sue for, for control. You can't beat her up, but that has to come first.
And you're going to lose.
And you are going to
You
lose.
will
100%.
Exactly.
You will lose to the business 100%.
That's what people don't understand. The dedication to do this. It is mental gymnastics. Would I be right?
100%.
Now, in my era, let's say I'm having a match, we're having a 20-minute match, and he's getting his hand raised. All we know about that match is the last 2 minutes, the finish. And we build the first 18 minutes to coincide with that finish. It's called telling a story, right? Today, I'm not sure about stories. I'm not sure that, or if they're drunk, telling me a story and trying to sober up. But no, I'm again being facetious. But seriously, it sounds easy, doesn't it? It's not, because each crowd is different. I could he and I had a match here tonight, and we just blew the roof off the place. We could take that match up to Cincy, 100 miles from here. Tomorrow night, the people sitting on their hands better know how to change that match to suit the people. And that's the thing that an independent level. Today, there are so many independent
100%.
guys.
100%.
Right? And there are so many independent promoters that absolutely know nothing about the wrestling business, which means there are independent trainers who absolutely know nothing about the wrestling business. So you end up with wrestlers in the same way. In my training period, I've worked with Ricky Steamboat, Harley Race, Rip Rogers, Lance Storm. The point is...
Headbangers.
Yeah, the great trainers, really, the headbangers, right. Not those secondary guys like Harley Race.
Who's Ricky Steamboat?
Whoop. Okay.
That's like great. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. See ya.
Get out.
Yeah. It's their show. I'm going home. But seriously, the trouble is there is no way to learn that in the independents many times, because it's the blind leading the blind. That's the difference. When I had my first pro match out of school, out of the training, it was with a pro, a veteran. And they said, when did you win your first match? Hell, I don't know, 2 years later or something like that. But the point is, I was learning every night from a veteran guy. Today, many of the guys that on these independent shows, one doesn't know any more than the guy is wrestling, so it's the blind leading the blind.
And the promoter knows less.
And the promoter knows less, absolutely. So hence the value of developmental. WCW started that stuff first at the power plant, right? But now the PC is a hell of a... How many rings? They got 6, 8 rings in that damn gym?
Yes. I go up there.
Yeah,
Yes.
at least, right? And I can say this. Well, Terry Taylor pulled my coattail when he started in the business, right? And spoke actually at Knoxville in Southeastern. And, but that is where you learn, because these are veteran wrestlers that are trainers. And so it's a point of listening and doing the same thing over and over and over. And what I find with a lot of independent guys, and these guys work the independent shows, so see what they think about this. Some of these guys, it's about me. In other words, I love this thing.
Yeah.
I'll do this move 6 times. Wait a minute. This is not about what you like. You didn't pay to be here. You're
Right.
getting paid to entertain the people who actually bought a ticket, which is where a lot of the independent guys get lost because they think it's about themselves. Hey, this is cool, right? But that's not it. So developmental teaches structure. I'm working with a kid up in East Tennessee right now, I won't mention his name, who's having struggle with weight training and nutrition, right? And I'm telling him, you know what? These guys they're looking at him. A couple of the people from the PC have mentioned to him, get in better shape. I'm trying to do that with him. And I told him, I said, if you don't change the next time these coaches see you, they may think you don't care. And that's the thing. If you're trying to work your way up or into the PC, if they've trained with you once, they come back in 3 months or a year, they want to see an improvement. If they don't see the improvement, they figure you don't care, and they move on. And that's where, in this day and age, I think it's hard to come up out of the indies because, first of all, you have trainers on the independent level many times that have no experience themselves, just what they've seen on television.
Haven't been there, done that.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. A promoter who says, well, I worked with a kid in a training seminar a few months ago who said, well, my trainer said, funny is money. I said, what? Funny is money? I said, your trainer's an idiot. I'm sorry that I don't know who that person is, but funny is not money. You don't draw big houses by telling jokes in wrestling, but that's the type of thing that is out there on the independent scene. And so that is why with WCW started the power plant, and then Tom Pritchard became, the trainer at the tracks in Stanford for WWE. And then that developed into the system where we had HWA and Louisville had OVW and that sort of thing. But that is so much about learning the industry. The difference from my career, my first match first two matches actually was on July the 4th, 1960. But anyway, with veterans, guys who had been in the business ahead of me. And from that point on, it was with guys who had, veterans. So it was easy to either learn or die, one of the two. It was your call. But the point is, today, there's so much of these kids, the blind leading the blind, that they're out there and they're lost.
So, and not to cut you off, and
He meant to cut me.
to talk
If he didn't
about
mean to
that,
cut you off, he wouldn't have.
that's a lot of the reason why we want to retire from the ring. Because we go and do these independent shows and you have this guy going, I can do this, this, and this. And then you're not really sure once you get in there that they're going to be safe. And they're just not out there trying to get themselves over.
Right.
And that's the kids today.
And I can tell you this, I go up to the PC with WWE in Orlando probably every 6, 7, 8 weeks. And the indie guys that come in can't keep up with the NLI kids that they bring in, the athletic ones. The cardio and the training is it's literally night and day. And you see the indie kids come in and literally their eyes light up like, oh shit. And I can tell you this, if I had to go through what those PC kids go through when I first started, I don't know if I would have made it. I mean, it's a totally different, it's a totally different thing. But yeah, you need that developmental time. You need to learn the right way to do it, because just getting in there and being, like Les said, me, it's not about you, it's about your opponent. Because if you think of it this way, if you learn how to sell, if I learn how to sell and I put Les over, and I put Les over huge, first of all, next time I work him, he's going to do it back to me, and then the boys in the locker room see it and they go, oh, he's going to really put me over, so when he does something, let me really put him over. But if you see someone out there that's all about me, then it turns into a me match, and it turns into the drizzling dog shits of the match.
Shoot, I'm tying somebody up.
Yeah. Okay. No, but yeah, there is a psychology, and the crazy thing is that so many of these kids have watched and watched. They think they understand, but my example there, I've been watching pro football since Johnny Unitas quarterbacked for the Colts in Baltimore, for Christ's sake, right? But I can't go out and teach pro football. And I played sandlot football as a kid. The point is, watching is not doing, right? And it really, you can't be a trainer unless you've been in the middle. Well, you can't teach a guy to go to war and fight a war if you've never been in one. I don't believe, right? So that's the biggest thing where developmental comes in. Like I say, I worked with all veterans when I started, so that was my developmental. There was no green guys that I wrestled, right? They were all old timers. So my education went on every night, and then it changed territories. It was like going to a new school.
Yeah.
Get a little different style from a different guy. That's not the point anymore. But the main thing, like at the PC in Orlando, is sound basics, fundamentals, and to tell a story. And it really is so tough. And they have Gabe Sapolsky now, who was one of the people that started ECW years ago and he sat at Paul Heyman's knee to learn the business. And now he's a scout who goes out and,
He runs the ID shows.
Yeah.
And he runs Evolve on that they do.
Right.
That's on Tubi on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m.
But now,
Shameless plugs. I'm all day long.
yeah, if you're interested in see how, and I don't mean to sound like a salesman here, but at our booth this weekend, we're selling Brian Pillman memorial shows. We did 4 in Cincinnati, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, which the only place in the world you could see WCW, ECW, and WWE stars all under the same roof on the same night. And we've got those DVDs here. Plus, we've got the HWA, we call it the Lost Developmental Tapes, Volumes 1, 2, and 3, which includes Christ. Who? Well, on that, in the 4th Pillman show was the first time that Randy Orton and John Cena ever wrestled one another. And at that time, Randy was Jim Cornette's whipping boy in OVW because Randy was in Jim's doghouse virtually every day. And he was. And, the funny thing is now I watch Randy, who's the locker room leader and one of the best damn wrestlers on the planet as of today. And I thought, damn, that kid's come along. I wrestled his granddaddy. I did, Bob Orton Sr. But anyway, so it's because there aren't a lot of veterans on the indies, the developmental takes the place of that. Where I had all the veterans to work with as I build my way up, these kids don't have that. Plus, as I said, promoters who don't know really how, or trainers who don't know how to train, My dear friend, God rest his soul, Harley Race, when we were doing camps together, might say to a kid, "How long you been doing that, kid?" 5 years, sir. Oh, I thought you said 5 minutes, the way I watched your match, right?
Maybe you shouldn't do that again.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. The story goes around now to trainers like myself and Tom and everybody else. You can't yell at these children anymore. Really? Then it's a good thing they weren't with me when I broke into business 67 years ago, because they would have been gone the first day, because the first time I screwed up, I got yelled at, brother.
100%.
You realize back when I broke into business in 1960, the business was a closed shop. And when you went to train, they tested you. They stung you. They made you a little taller today than you were yesterday. Because if you weren't going to stick, they were not going to smarten you up.
If you weren't going to stick, you were going to get out then. You weren't even.
Fast.
There wasn't a chance of hanging
Right.
around.
Yep.
And I trained from February of 1960 to July the 4th. And that day, I was staying in a rooming house across the street from where we trained. And the boss's son came over and got me. It's 4th of July. I thought, I must be in the doghouse. We're not training today. My dad wants to see you. I thought, I'm in trouble. I went over to the gym. He said, today is your day. Go home, and I'd got my boots already, a trunks, jacket. Go home and get your stuff and come back. So I did. Man, I'm fired, right? He said, now you remember, here's the thing, the way they taught me to be a worker and not to be a, they'd say, okay, now I want you and Charlie to have a match. Now, don't get paid for it, and there's no winner or loser, So just put the holes on, but don't apply the pressure. So that's the way they taught us to be workers, right? So the Tony, the boss, the promoter, said, "You know how you did that?" I said, "Yes, sir." Okay, that's what they're going to do with you today. But he made it like it's just going to happen today. Well, the point was, I think, to see it, because if I didn't do well, it might be my last day, so they didn't want to start me up. They just helped him out today. But that's how the business was guarded. I don't know, do any of you watch Unreal on Netflix at all? You know, I'm so surprised that so many people in this generation hate it. What I like, I mean, I'm a little upset with it, but I like the production. You know, WWE is quality production.
Yes.
And since I've worked on that end of the business as well, I enjoy watching that. If you've seen they're in the second season, I forget, episode 3 or 4, Paul Lee comes on and says, "I don't believe in what we're doing here. I'm not agreeing with it. When I broke in this business for telling you what we're telling you now, I could have got my legs broken."
100%.
And that's a fact.
We were just talking about this on our podcast, The Stage Dive.
The Stage Dive. On YouTube and wherever podcasts can be found.
That even magicians, you know it's not real. You know magic is not real.
Sure.
But there's still a mystique about how they do it. Today's day and age with wrestling, there's no mystique at all. You guys know exactly how we do everything.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, but
It's bad.
business is good right now, so I guess it's okay. I don't know.
Well, you know,
I'm still old school. I hate it.
I'm old school also.
I
was brought up old.
I would agree with you.
It's still hard for me when someone comes up and asks, you know, how do you take a chair shot? Oh, yeah, bend over. Let me give you a chair shot. You know, how's it? You know, it's a big trampoline. Yeah, let me slam you on this floor. You tell me it's a big trampoline. So it's different because, again, we were brought up that old school style of
100%.
protecting the business 100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like you do, Les. I actually enjoy Unreal. Parts of it I enjoy, other parts I'm not so much.
Yeah.
What I don't enjoy is that shit Maven puts on YouTube. That I'm not a fan of.
I haven't seen Maven in a while. What's he smoking now?
Well, on that note, folks, we're going to go back to our
gotta
table.
go to our table. And Les, we love you, and I definitely want to come and get one of your DVDs.
Is that all it took to get rid of you? Hey, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
How about give my guys a big hand here, huh? Thank you, brother.
So we're in the back room, way back there. Tons of pictures, T-shirts. I got books. We got all kinds of stuff. So make sure you stop by and say hi.
He's not a good, a hell of an entrepreneur, though, right? Thanks, brother. Seriously, if anybody's got any questions, I mean, I'm not sure what you want to hear, but if you tell me, sir. Can I what? Well, now, you know, of course, I would say that depends on each coach, right? It's just like a football team. They're going to coach it their way, right? To me, you know, it kind of depends on the student, right? How long he's been there, how well he is doing, you know. To me, I think if you put a guy out too soon, you can ruin him. And what I mean by that, if he screws up and gets a bad rap from the fans, that can, you know, make him paranoid for good, you know. And seriously, a lot of guys do these, a lot of trainers do these 12-week things, right? Mine was all, if you'd come to HW at its height, it was $4,000 for 6 months, and you would work out 4 times a week. And I would tell you that I expect you to be in my ring at least 3 of those 4 times, short of a death in your family or a broken leg of yourself. Why? Because, and I'll get a lot of flack for this from a lot of young guys, the difference in the great workers of our time from the 60s and 70s, there were so many more great performers, artists, if you will. for a reason, because of the things we're talking about, right? Plus, you had to learn to call a match on the fly, which means you had to be improv, right? We may shift gears. Quick story. I won't go into the whole long thing. First time I went to Georgia in 1966, Leo Garibaldi, a hell of a great wrestler with his dad as a tag team back in the 50s, was the booker. First night in Atlanta, Roger Kirby, who was a dear friend of mine, had been my tag team partner before I'd been in the territory a while. Leo comes up. Leo is not only the booker, he referees some of the matches too as well, which is odd actually for bookers, but not for him. Anyway, he said, look, I need to get the guys you're wrestling over tonight. Now, it's my first time in the old Atlanta auditorium. And he said, it's not because I'm not going to start beating you, but these guys are going to be my top heels for a long time. This is 1966, by the way. So now I don't know if Kirby had ever worked with these guys before. So he gave us a finish, and it was going to put the heels over, right? So we're out there in the match, and Leo is our referee. And it was one of those nights, and I'd never worked with these guys. I'd never even seen these guys, never heard of them, right? But I'm thinking, damn, we couldn't have made a mistake. It was one of those nights where you couldn't have screwed up if you tried, right? Everything was going right, and we had that old auditorium rocking. In the middle of the match, Leo comes around and said, we're not wasting this, meaning the heat that we've got with the audience. We're bringing this match back. Here's the new finish. So we had to change the end of the match in the middle of the match. I can almost guarantee you that there is nobody, sort of maybe Randy Orton or somebody like that in this business today that had handled that, because they go through move for move for move. And I don't know if you held a gun to my head and said, we're going to do this 10-minute match, move by move, I shoot me. There's no way I'm going to remember all that in sequence, right? And so people like me or Tom Pritchard or trainers see so many little flaws in today's thing because these guys aren't taught the organic things, right, or the improv stuff. So when you see the guy walking around bent at the waist, looking out of the corner of his eye at his buddy climbing the boats, and I'm thinking, why the hell is he just standing there? It's taking so much time. Timing. And so I'm saying there were a lot more great workers, and part of that in our era was we were, working 5-6 nights a week. And once the blue laws, which most of you young guys wouldn't know, that was on Sundays there were blue laws back when I was a kid. Unless you had a pharmacy or a hospital, movie theaters weren't open. Nothing was open on Sunday to shop, clothing stores, nothing like that, right? So wrestling wasn't promoted on Sundays until later. So you might be wrestling 7 nights a week, which is how Steamboat became Steamboat, or guys like that, right? It's repetition, doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And so that's what goes on at the PC. And that's what was going on at the power plant as well when WCW had that. But that's the reason and the main purpose of developmental today, because you don't have all these veterans with all the, in the territories to teach the kids. So it's done a completely different way. Do any of you watch NXT on Tuesday nights? Give me your opinion. What do you think?
I think it's a good thing in a way, but I also wonder, should they be on national television right now? Some of them I think maybe need a little bit more time on TV.
Yeah, sure. But see, that's the thing. But the reason I'm asking, because that's basically what happened in HWA when I had the developmental, right, or in OVW, or even now in OVW. He has TV. We had TV as well. The biggest problem back then was the only time that the people in Stanford saw our talent was when we sent them a copy of the TV. So they may see the talent. And what I'm getting at here is people say, well, what's the disconnect, right, between the developmental territories and the main office? Well, the disconnect is the coaches at developmental are seeing these guys every day. They're bad moods. They're good moods. They're on time. They're never on time, right? They know more about them. And the guys in Stanford seeing a 1-hour show and a 5-minute match are making judgment on that. Plus, in this day and age, you don't have to necessarily be an ex-wrestler to be a writer or a booker, right? Realize back in my day, virtually everybody that booked wrestling had wrestled. So they understood the business from the inside. Writers don't necessarily do that, right? So it's a whole different thing, but still, developmental is so important in the overall scheme of everything, you know? And, well, with WWE, I've done guest coaches there. Ricky Morton was over there last week as a guest coach. Rudy Gonzalez, who runs Texas Wrestling Academy, has been there as a guest coach. So they keep bringing the different coaches in, right? But it all comes back to, if you're a trainee, it's Les Thatcher coming in, giving you his idea of fundamentals. Then here comes Rudy Gonzalez, so you pick out what works best for you out of everything. The point, hard to teach a young guy who's got that fire in his belly to be a great wrestler. I want to be in WrestleMania and go to Madison Square Garden. Okay. Hey, I saw this cool move and so-and-so did it and it looks cool. You do it and it may look like the worst thing that's ever happened in a wrestling ring. So that's what developmental is for. It doesn't work, then don't do it, right? And I know we were talking about this earlier today. One of the girl wrestlers, I forget who it was, in WWE had written it on Facebook a while back, gee, I wish we had more house shows. I need more ring time. Well, that's the difference between the talent today and the talent from my crew, We were wrestling every night and a different person many times, right? And today, you're wrestling once a week. You can't stay sharp. You really can't, which is why if you came to my school and I said, if you paid to be there, we still had 4 training sessions. And I expect to see you for 3 of those. And if I didn't see you for 3 of those, then you may be there for the rest of your life because until I'm sure I can put you out. I kept trainees in mostly for the 6 months. Why? Because I think they needed that kind of experience, right? Like I say, there are schools where 12 weeks. Can you get sharp? Some people can. Many people, I know people can't get sharp in 6 years. Never mind 6 weeks or 6 months, right? So that's the thing too. It becomes down to the individual. It's hard to tell, right? You all have seen Nigel McGuinness wrestle, I'm sure, right? That's one of my favorite trainees that I've ever had in my life. We've become very close. And he helped me book a year-long tournament in Los Angeles back in 2012 and 13. He was at Kent State University in north central Ohio, and was sending letters around. He had been such a big fan at home in England. He taught himself the Ricky Steamboat arm drag. You all know what that is, right? It's the greatest arm drag of all time. On the bed in his bedroom, right? He showed it to me, right? I made him show it to Ricky at one of the Pillman shows. But anyway, he came with a couple guys from school at Kent State. And when I hear guys saying, we'll give him a tryout. If he's never wrestled, what the hell? I can tell you, he don't have to get a tryout. He's going to be horrible, right? He doesn't know anything. Anyway, but I let him get in the ring, to lock up a little bit. And I could feel his energy, right? Like he's in a wrestling ring. It's like, Lord, he's on drugs, right? I mean, but that's the kind of passion that he had. And so he told me, he said, okay, I've got one more year of university and then I'm coming back. If I had $5 for everybody told me they were coming to train with me, I'd be telling you this story from Bermuda in my castle, right? Because I'd be a millionaire. But I don't get $5 for everybody that lies to me and says, I'm coming to train you. 18 months later, here comes Nigel McGuinness from England. And we've been friends ever since. He has busted his hump. But as great a wrestler as he became, it wasn't instantaneous, nor did I realize how good he would be instantly, right? So that's the other reason that I don't believe in the 12-week thing, right? You have to give people time to adjust Well, it's everybody's different. Everybody here drives a car, I'm sure. And I bet it took all of us a different amount of time to learn how to drive that car, right? So there's no formula for everybody in the same deal. And so, it takes time. And they've got so many good trainers at the PC at Orlando. Like I say, Terry Taylor, who's a trainer there, broke in 1980 and came to Knoxville, where I was working at the time. And I worked with some of the young guys there. So Terry had a chance to work with me there. Jim Dillon, I've been training guys. You're talking about going way back. J.J. Dillon was my tag team partner in the Carolinas back in '71 for a while. And he says that I taught him to be a professional. I don't know if he's just lying or whether he actually believes that or not. But anyway, it takes time. And that's why everybody here has been a teenager, and none of you had wanted to take time for anything, right? It's right now. It's instantaneous. We got to do it today, right? We got to do it right this minute. And that's another part of the developmental trainer's job, is to sit on these guys and slow them down so that they do learn, right? To give you an example, Boris Malenko, Dean's father, has a reputation that if you didn't know how properly to do a headlock takeover, you might spend the afternoon doing headlock takeover after headlock takeover after headlock, forever until you got it right. He'd say, okay, now we can go on to something else. This business I've been a competitive bodybuilder. I started drag racing when I was 15. Before I had a driver's license, I was driving on a racetrack. The three things that I've had a passion for in my life: drag racing, wrestling, and bodybuilding. None of them are easy, but of all wrestling, by far the hardest. And here's the thing. You know who Wahoo McDaniel is, if you're old enough to remember, okay? He was wrestling out of the Indianapolis office when I first went to Indy. He was just breaking into business. He was upset. It's too damn tough. And Wahoo is one of the toughest SOBs I ever met in my life, right? But wrestling was too hard. It's Kim Wood, who was the strength coach of the Bengals, and if you follow the history of wrestling, was also a mentor to Brian Pillman, right? Great guy. Kim was the strength coach for the Bengals for 20 years. He would bring some of the rookies out to my gym to watch the developmental guys train, because he loved to laugh, because they said, Jesus, they work harder than we do. This is coming from professional football players, right? So anybody tells you this is an easy business, you tell them I said they're a liar. There's nothing easy about this. They're just not. There is so much intricate things, and you have to realize that you have to be able to make changes on the fly. You and I can be having a great match. You pull a hamstring or something, we can't go past that. Now we've got to still finish this match, but we have to find a way to do it without you jumping up and down or this or that, right? Have anybody, you guys, I'm sure all you guys watch videos on YouTube. Has anybody seen Stan Hansen and Vader's match, where Vader's eyeball comes out and lays on his cheek? And Stan Hansen is not a gentle man to wrestle, and yet they finished the match with that eyeball laying out on that's Vader, on Leon's cheek. I don't care if you like him or don't like him. These guys are professional wrestlers. They are quality people, because stuff like that happens. Does everybody see on Facebook the videos from OVW where the referee okay. There's an example. Al and I were talking about that today, right? And realizing these kids, the first thing I said, if he'd worked with that referee before and never moved him, and he moved easy, if he was moving hard this time, you should have known something was wrong. But again, it's an education at that level. And they certainly got an education with that, right? But stuff like that happens. It does. It truly does. Questions?
Check, check. Okay, there we go. All right, we're good to go. All right. Alikana House from the In Your House podcast. First off, I want to say I got a chance to meet you a few years ago at Heroes and Legends.
Oh, yeah.
You complimented my LA Dodgers jacket. That was dope, man, so I appreciate that. But my question for you was this. You guys talked a little bit earlier about independent wrestling and then like the NIL kids and whatnot. I want to ask about mindset because those NIL kids, they're used to being coachable. They come from different sports, come from different backgrounds, so they're easily moldable, easily coachable. One thing that I've seen, with some indie wrestlers is when they come in and they get signed, sometimes they have some bad habits that they need to unlearn, and some of them push back on it. So I just want to get your mindset or get your thoughts on the mindset of the difference between, somebody coming from a different sport in the NIL and somebody who came from indie wrestling and on the big stages.
I have worked with high-level competitive bodybuilders. I had a kid come to me that had lettered in SEC soccer at the University of Kentucky, and he drove himself crazy trying to learn the wrestling business, and he didn't, right? He couldn't catch on. I had a high-level competitive bodybuilder, same thing. He walked away. A guy who had done some water park, I forget somewhere, one of the, like Dollywood or something like that, was one of the people that was part of the cast that did like little, plays and stuff on the water for fans, And he thought, I'm going to come in and be a wrestler. He's not. Nigel McGuinness, who I mentioned earlier, had never done anything athletic until he came to me. So it's just a special thing, right? Some of those NIL guys will make it. Some of them won't. There's just no. It's hard to say, right? It's the most unique business I've ever been around in my life. I say I've done competitive bodybuilding. I've been in this town at the U.S. Nationals, NHRA U.S. Nationals on Labor Day. I've run cars there. None of it was any tougher than learning professional wrestling. And like I say, this July the 4th will be my 67th anniversary, and I'm still learning. So when some kid tells me I've been doing this 15 minutes and I know everything, I just want to smack him and go about my business, right? Because I don't know what he's smoking, but I know he's not telling me the truth, right? He doesn't know everything. He hardly knows anything, probably. This is a tough business. So if you have a friend that wants to tell him, find the best independent promotion that does it the right way. Find a trainer who has actually trained somebody that you've heard of. When somebody will say, I'll say, who trained you? Bill Jones. He's got the golf station over in Old Jones Smith, and he had a ring out in his pit, where he does oil, greases his cars. Okay, great. There are a million of those people. If you want to learn this business, find somebody that has been to the dance to teach you, somebody who knows because they've been there, not somebody who bought a ticket. And realize, give the record. I mean, there are bad wrestlers, there are good wrestlers. There's good baseball players and bad baseball players. But the good guys deserve your respect because they are talented and they do bust their hump to get that way. There's no doubt about it. Like I say, I remember when Randy Orton was in developmental and he was in Jimmy Cornette's doghouse virtually every week for something or other. He was still a high school kid. Right now he's a locker room leader, one of the best damn wrestlers in the business, bar none. So it's a matter of growing up mentally as well as physically. And that's the other part too. This guy I'm telling you about in East Tennessee, I have a nutritional overview that I've given all my students. It's basically what I use to do competitive bodybuilding, but I'm getting the axe. They're going to give me the shepherd's crook here in a second. So I'm going to have to wrap this up. But the point is, These kids, if you know independent guys, tell them to find good trainers, good promoters. And it's not going to come easy. If you all know who L.A. Knight is, right? He started in HWA. He's an overnight success, but he started in HWA 20 years ago. So he's not an overnight success. He's been contracted to WWE twice, dropped the first time. But you know what? Brian is his real name. He's been the same talent since I first saw him 20 years ago, right? But it's just somebody didn't notice. So it's a hard business. Give the guys credit, but also if you know anyone that wants to be in the business, tell them to find the right trainer, the right kind of attitude, and they must be focused and give it everything they have. And they're telling us to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned something. I'm glad Thatcher and Bosch came. They were entertaining. I enjoyed that. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it, and hope to see you all through the rest of the weekend. Enjoy yourselves. God bless you, and thank you so much.